agency in charge of U.S. Immigration Services updating its mission statement and removing the phrase nation of immigrants. The director of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services saying that the revised statement now emphasizes protecting American workers and safeguarding the homeland. I want to bring in now CNN political commentator Charles Blow and talk radio host John Fredericks, former co-chair of the Trump campaign in Virginia. Good evening, gentlemen. So, Charles, I'm going to start with you. This is the mission statement in the United States Customs and Immigration Service written in 2005, and here's how it reads. It says the USCIS secures America's promise as a nation of immigrants by providing accurate and useful information to our customers, granting immigration and citizenship benefits, promoting an awareness and understanding of citizenship, and ensuring the integrity of our immigration system. The agency's new mission statement reads now, today, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services administers the nation's lawful immigration system, safeguarding its integrity, and promised by effectively and fairly adjudicating requests for immigration benefits while protecting Americans, securing the homeland, and honoring our values. What changed? Well, the phrase that described the agency as securing America's promise as a nation of immigrants has been eliminated. We're no longer a nation of immigrants?
Well, I mean, that phrase is actually both a statement of fact and philosophy, right? That this is how we viewed ourselves, and is also a historical fact. The population of indigenous people of North America is relatively small, and most of the people who are here now are descendants of people who came to this country some way or another, whether forcibly or not. And it's very interesting for me sitting here not too far from Ellis Island, where where a large number of those people funnel through to come to this country, to not think of America as a country of immigrants. And I believe that it is, part of the erasure of truth and fact and history, a kind of a revisionist history of America that we are now undergoing, and that is a problematic thing, just as a fact.
Mm-hmm. So, John, L. Francis Cisna, who the agency director described the revision as a simple, straightforward statement that clearly defines the agency's role in our country's lawful immigration system and the commitment we have to the American people. He was appointed by the Trump administration. Does this change how the president feels in his stance on immigration?
No. I think what they're saying is we're a nation of Americans. And if you come to America, we would hope that all immigrants who come into this great country attempt to assimilate in to America like our ancestors did. And certainly my grandparents did. We came over and we were not able to speak Italian, which my parents did, or German, which my grandfather did. You had to speak English. And so I think what they're saying is, look, we're a nation of Americans, and the president, no doubt, has a very different vision for immigration in this country, which he's boldly laid out, which includes economics and other factors, and that's what he got elected on. So I don't think that this should be a surprise or a shocker, and I don't really think it represents any major change other than it's 2018.
But you just answered the question. You said no, but you answered the question. I said, does this reflect the president's hardline stance on immigration? You said no, it doesn't. But then you said, yeah, it reflects how the president. So,
I think it reflects a change in the status of where the country is in 2018, as opposed to where it was in 1818. I think that's really what the difference is. And I think this is really all to do about nothing. I don't think anybody that comes into this country legally doesn't want to be an American. That's why they're coming in, Don.
John, I got to say this. Listen, you're entitled to your opinion, but from your logic, then the Second Amendment no longer applies in the way that it applied when the Second Amendment was written.
Well, we're not changing the amendment, Don. He's changing the director changed the language, and I just gave you the explanation, which
You
we're
said
a
it
nation of
reflects where we
Americans.
are in 2018 and not 1818. And
Yeah,
you could say the same
it does.
thing about the Second Amendment.
I don't think
the
that's,
Second Amendment
I don't
doesn't
think that's a
reflect
bad
where
thing.
we
and
are in 1818.
I don't know
It
how
should
you
reflect
what
where
the
we are in
Second Amendment,
2018.
Don, has to.
Well, I'm just saying, but
I don't think the
by
Second
your
Amendment
logic,
has to do with this.
well, because that's by your logic. Everyone keeps saying the Second Amendment is sacred. Immigration in this country, we're a nation
Right.
of immigrants. Shouldn't that be just as sacred? So if we're going to be living in a time where that is more reflective of where we are in 2018 rather than 1818, there are a whole lot of other things that should be changed as well.
Well, again, we're a nation of Americans. That's really what's changed. The country is a lot older than it was in 1818 when these words were written. And I really think you're reacting to something that doesn't mean a lot of anything. The president is not restricting immigration. He's not saying he doesn't want people to come into the country. He's changing, or he would like to change, the way we do immigration and change it to a different system, which I happen to believe is the right way to go. We had the Prime Minister of Australia in today, Malcolm Turnbull. Australia does it the exact way the president does. And by the way, the Australian Prime Minister today said at the White House in the press briefing that he would like to model the economic prosperity for Australia right after Trump's economic prosperity and his tax cut plan.
Okay,
So
I got to get to the
there's
break, John. I got to get to a break.
Go ahead.
All right, we'll be right back. And we're back. We're in the middle of a conversation. Charles Blow's back. John Fredericks as well. Sorry I had to cut you guys off. We had to get the break in. So, Charles, did you want to respond to what John was saying?
Well, I thought it was fascinating when John was talking about the difference between 1818 and 2018, because there's a kind of cultural racial blind spot with a lot of white America that does not want to acknowledge what happened around that time of 1818 and how we kind of flung the doors wide open to immigrants from Europe, for a very long time. And in 1818, my ancestors were still slaves brought here, not because they wanted to come and become Americans, but because they were brought in as slaves. And Native Americans, the only indigenous people to this country, were being removed from their lands that they rightfully owned through both kind of forcible removal and also through kind of these dubious pacts and treaties. And so now that we have, kind of an America that they like, now all of a sudden we want to slam the door shut and we want to say, no, that's not who we are. That's who we were when people who look like me were coming, not when it's with people who are brown or Asian or whatever. And that is a very hypocritical, insulting reversal of the ethos of America.
Mm-hmm. John?
Charles, it really has nothing to do with that, Charles. This isn't about race. This is about economics. This isn't about the color of somebody's skin or how they come in to the United States. It's about jobs. What the president simply said is, we've got a $20 trillion debt, and we're looking for people to come into the country that can support themselves economically. So what the president has said is, if we see a need economically for pipe fitters that happen to be in Nigeria, they're going to go to the top of the list because we need pipe fitters. If there's welders in Haiti, and we have a economic need
Haiti's
for
one of the
welders,
countries called a shithole.
they're going to get to the top of the list.
Let's go for that.
They're going to get to the top of the
Haiti's
list.
one of the countries he called a shithole.
But that's,
and number two,
I mean,
this is
that's
just a
why
rambling
I'm using
word
these
salad
examples.
of deflection, because you do not want to. We're not talking about whether or not who he wants to come in. We're talking about the removal of this particular phrase and whether or not that phrase ever stood for something in this country, and it did. And it should still stand for something in this country. You go to the Statue of Liberty and you read about what it means, and they're asking for us to send, the dispossessed, poor, hungry,
right,
of Europe, which was mostly who was coming. And when that was happening, everybody was fine and dandy with it. This is who we were. This is what we wanted, right? And now all of a sudden, this is no longer who we are. We want to build $25 million walls for nothing. because we don't want to keep the brown people out. We want to make sure that people from Haiti, the place you just said may have plumbers,
We're almost out of time.
can't come to the U.S. We want to make sure that people from African countries cannot come to the U.S. And you try to tell me that that is not about race. You try to disconnect economics from the racial reality in this country, and that is a ridiculous position for you to hold, and also not factual.
But also you say that, talking about the debt, the president added $1.5 trillion to the debt, and you're saying that he is wanting to change the immigration system because...
He's trying to grow us out of the debt, Don. He's trying to grow us out of the debt
to the debt
through 5% economic expansion, which is going to well pay for that. And you look at you look at the economic results of the tax cut now. You know, you guys can rant and rave all you want.
John, I hate to cut you off. That's it for us tonight.
Wins out. Thank you.